Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the broadcast. Welcome, everybody out there, that's going to be on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, anywhere this clip or live video is hitting right now, which is TikTok and Facebook at the same time. Pretty soon, we'll be going live on a lot more platforms at once, like my YouTube channel and other aspects like that. But good morning, everybody, and welcome to the broadcast. I am your host, Monty Anderson, here at 412 Productions, the art of Monty Anderson. So, day two is in the books for the draft day. Day three is today, starting with all of your last rounds. Two and three went today, or went yesterday, and I'm honestly happy with the picks that we've had. Yeah, we didn't pick up a wide receiver. Yeah, we didn't pick up a running back, anything like that. But there's still a lot of good talent out there for us to pick up. And I'm due for a haircut. Look at that. Look at all that hair coming out of there. I'm due for a haircut. So hopefully your team, if you have a team out there in the draft right now, is doing some good stuff for your team. There's been a lot of A grades. There's been a lot of C grades. I haven't seen a whole lot of D's or F grades out there this time around, which means there's a lot of talent out there, and there's still a lot of talent out there. The biggest surprise and shock so far is the slide of Shadir Sanders. Everybody's kind of shocked that he hasn't been picked up yet. But on that same token, if you're not a team player and you're in it for you, then you might become an undrafted free agent, which isn't what he's looking for because he was expected to go in round one. But his name has yet his name has yet to be called, and that's how it's going right now. But had a productive meeting yesterday as well. A friend of mine approached me. He is a movie producer, and I've already talked about this about doing a comic book together. And so we are looking at that aspect, and we hashed out some details on character development and things of that nature. And no, I'm not hiding the fact that this is a brisk fruit punch. They are not my sponsors, but they need to be. Well, there we go. I like that comment. And they're the most lucrative every year. Yes, thank you, TikTok. I know all that. Hamburger TV. Dallas Cowboys are the greatest sports franchise the world has ever known. And, when you mix it up with Marvel, because this is a Dallas Cowboy Wolverine t shirt, you know, all that good stuff. So, welcome to the show, everybody. We will be talking some football today because, like I said, I've liked the picks so far that the Dallas Cowboys have gotten. We have gotten three projected starters, already to build on for this season, this coming season. Tyler Booker being taken as the first, which was a shock to everybody, and I kind of knew that we weren't going to go with a wide receiver or a running back, in my opinion. Yes, correct. That was Marvel before they went to Disney. Keep that shirt. You'll never see that one come back again. No, you won't. Just like most of the shirts I have in my closet. I've got so many old shirts, like the one that I wore from 2001, my X Men Wolverine main shirt, uh, what was called a club shirt back in the day. I had three of them. I had the Wolverine one, the X Men, and then I had the Hulk, and then I had a Batman one. The Hulk one got ripped while I was playing basketball. I remember exactly what happened to that one. The Batman one, I'm not sure what happened to it, but I feel like it split up the sides or something like that. And it was made out of material that you can't really sew back together. So it ended up getting trashed. So, but that one's the only one that has survived. And then, of course, this shirt right here. I don't think it gives me a date. Oh, yeah, it does right there. This one's 2011. So there you go. So a 2001 and a 2011 shirt. And it still looks practically brand new because I don't dry my shirts. Yes, I wash them, but I do not dry them. I let them air dry so that the heat of the dryer does not mess with the colors. No, I'm not rubbing my chest right there. But yes, I am. Just kidding. Okay. So, but like I said, I've liked the picks so far that the Dallas Cowboys have done. They are shocking the sports world yet again by, not picking your typical what you would expect our needs to be, which is a wide receiver and a running back. Because as soon as Jetney left the board, and then all the other running backs that we had projected coming to us, uh, we just went the total opposite direction. Let's build the line. Good idea. Let's build our defensive line. Good idea with edge rushers and cornerback. And I'm expecting, there's still a lot of talent left out there, um, as far as the wide receiver position goes. The um, Good morning, Mr. Roy Joe Twilight Bradley Jr. There's still a lot of good positions left out there for wide receiver, running back, and then who's to say we don't even draft either of those positions, and then find them in preseason whenever people start letting players go, you know, including veteran players at a good price. So, but so far, I've liked the three picks that we have gotten. We do not have any picks in the first section of today in the fourth round, unless we trade one of our seventh round picks up for a fourth round pick. Um, so that means for the first hour and a half to 2 hours, we are, as Cowboy fans, are going to be sitting here twiddling our thumbs, just because you know um, everybody else is going to be picking, and we're going to be sitting there watching because we've got no picks in the fourth. But we've got a lot of picks in the fifth, sixth, and seventh round. So we've got 10 picks. We're three down, so that means we have how many? Let's do the math here. There's 10 fingers. You take away three. That leaves us with seven. We have 7 picks left to go. Um, and so I'm looking forward to that, seeing what we do, because, like I said, we've already got 3 projected starters. Um, our third pick, don't ask me his name right off the top of my head right this second. Um, oh, you're going with 20? Okay. You need some sleep then. Um, he should be back in time for training camp. He did tear his ACL in September. Um, but that's why he slid so far down, because he was actually projected to be a first round pick. Um, but and this is what the Cowboys do. They get their medical staff, they look over the player, and they say, yeah, he's going to be good to go, those type things. And so they take a gamble. This isn't the first time that they've taken a gamble on somebody that's torn their ACL before the draft, or before they picked them in the draft. And so, and he turned out to be a good player. I'm trying to remember exactly who it was right off the top of my head, um, but it was several years back. But he turned into a great player. So that's what they're taking the gamble on with this kid out of. See, I can't even tell you where he's from right now. Boy, that was a lot of good stuff, huh? But no, I've got all. I've seen all three of them, um, and now we've got 3 different Tylers on our offensive line. Tyler Smith, Tyler Guyton, and now once we add Tyler Booker in there, you know, you got the triple T's. That's where we need to go with the triple T's, um, for our offensive line at this point in time. Um, Someone was saying out there on one of the Dallas Cowboy groups, Nicknames incoming. Well, I need to pitch. I need to pitch that one, the triple T's. But no, it's all good stuff. And like I said, hopefully your team is improving out there in the draft as well, because this draft class is full of talent. And you've seen it because there's been a lot more offensive linemen and defensive players being taken that aren't your main positions. There's been a lot of linemen taken. There's been a lot of linebackers taken and things like that. Plus your edge rushers. But like I was saying, had a good productive meeting with Jason Pitts out there yesterday. We hashed out a lot of details on our comic book. Yes, we are calling it our comic book because um, we're basically going in 50-50 on it and looking for great things to happen. It is a Western horror. We did change the name because I feel like the name that we had picked has already been done and is out there somewhere. I think I've seen it before. Well, some of the Eagles draft grades I've seen was a C so far. The Giants have been B's and C's, I think. And then the Redskins slash Commanders. I honestly haven't seen what they've picked up. So I don't know how they're doing. No, you're not. You hope they fail in the draft. But the biggest shock of the NFL draft is Shadir Sanders. The fall of Shadir Sanders. Even some of the ex managers and things like that are like, I don't understand this at all. Well, if you're a dick, guess what? You're not going to get picked. And from what I understand, outside of everything, he's a dick. He's got the daddy syndrome, the I'm better than everybody else syndrome. You're out of gear? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry you're out of gear. I'm not out of gear. I've got Dallas and Marvel on at the same time. See the star right there, Mr. Roy Joe Bradley Jr.? This is a Dallas Cowboy shirt all the way around. So you're the one that's out of gear. Um, but what I've heard is that Shadir Sanders, um, I'm wearing it, buddy. This is a Dallas Cowboy shirt all the way around. Even the colors that Wolverine is in is Dallas Cowboy colors. Dallas Cowboy star all the way around. You just don't look. So, um, so he is going to be hard pressed to get on a team. Is what it's boiling down to, because he's not the most accurate passer. He can scramble, but when it boils down to it, how much of a team player are you? Is it just me, or is it can I be a true team player? And this is what's getting shown right there. And that's why he has fallen right now. He is not even projected in the fourth round, from what I understand. And he is still one of the best quarterbacks out there, unfortunately. Um, and if you know anything about him or his past or anything like that, yes, you need more sleep. Um, Most sleep, as you put it. If you know anything about his past or anything like that, and you can correct me, please do so. Because I do not know him personally. I do not know any off the field troubles that he's ever been in. But you know, I from what I've heard and read and other people said, it's like he's got the me syndrome. And if you've got the me syndrome, you're not going to be liked by anybody. and that is, a sad state of affairs for him because he should have already been gone in the draft. And for him to continue to slide just shows that people are not willing to take a chance on this kid. And I'm sure his dad is making some phone calls, being Deion Sanders. Now there is the possibility that if he continues to slide into the 7th round, that Dallas could pick him up. Do we need him? No. We've got Dak Prescott and Joe Milton. Joe Milton can throw the ball down the field effortlessly for 90 yards. You know, we just need to find that speedy wide receiver, which we have. Turpin's pretty speedy. Lamb isn't completely speedy, but if he can get in the open field, he's gone for the most part. Now there are some defensive players that can catch up to him. You know, but all the way around, if you're just going to be a me guy, you're not going to find yourself a team. And that goes in any aspect of life. If it's all about you and you don't have, you know, the decency to see other people as human beings, which I'm an alien, so don't worry about it. That's why my alien logo right there. Um, then you're not gonna fit in anywhere, and you're gonna be the outcast. And some people are okay with that. I'm kind of an outcast. I used to be the loner type all the time. You know, and it's fun for a while, but then you want conversation. You want to hang out with people. You want to, but if it's always about you, and no one can get a word in edgewise when you're trying to talk, then what's the point? You know, why do I want to be friends with that person that talks over you? Why do I want to be that person or that friend that we're only doing what you want to do? Why do I want to be friends with that person that is only in it for themselves? Well, Mr. Roy Joe Twilight Bradley Jr., I don't know if we're going to land Tyreek Hill. I figured if that ship was going to happen, it would have already happened. It would be cool, but how fast is Tyreek Hill still? I mean, is he still super fast? Because he's how old now? Is he in his 30s right now? He's slowing down, just like all of us do. We all slow down as life goes on, you know, and it happens faster for NFL players. Now, some, spend millions of dollars on their body, working out, trainers, food preps, all kinds of things just to slow down that factor of age, you know, even though you can't really slow it down. Uh, me, I'm still out there feeling like I'm a 20-year-old buck, lifting pallets over my head, and not just one, but two at a time, building my back wall fence to my chicken coop right now, to my chicken run. It's over 8 foot tall, you know, because the main supports on the bottom, the almost five, well, they might be 5 foot tall. And then I've got some more that I've got to move probably sometime this weekend, probably sometime today, if I had to guess, that are about 5.5 foot tall, maybe, that weigh, close to 200 pounds. And I'm going to be moving one of those by myself here after daylight. So I've got to fix a section of fence with it, where they've just got some cattle panel fence up, instead of um, having an actual fence back there. Because they had chain link to a point, and then they basically went nothing, and then or cattle panel, which is just nothing really, in my opinion, on this property that I purchased. And you know, it's just one of those things. The girlfriend works for 8 hours a day. She comes home, she's tired. I let her rest. I'm here at the house taking care of the animals and at the homestead and doing my artwork and basically lifting weights with pallets. Because they're most of the pallets are that I've dealt with so far, which was 22 pallets of about 150 pounds each. Um, and then I've got these other ones that are about 175 to close to 200 pounds each. Excuse me, I got three of those sitting right out here in my driveway. And then I've got to get that thick ass particle board somewhere, either on some walls or something. But you know, it is what it is, and it's part of living. It's part of keeping myself in shape, if you will. I'm not physically fit. I'm not uber cut or anything like that. I've got a new dad body right there. They say it's because of your cortisol levels, and I guess I could see that. And sorry, I've got popcorn kernels in my teeth from last night. Even when you brush, you don't get them all out of there right off the bat. So, but life comes at you in waves. Life comes at you in droves, and it's all in how you play the game. And Shadir Sanders is finding out that if it's all about you, you're not going to be in the game at all. Like I said, he could be one of those first round supposed picks that is going to be an undrafted free agent come the end of the draft. And those type of players can be dangerous. Yes, especially if somebody picks them up in the free agency and they play lights out to show, hey, I can play ball. But it's not just about showing that you can play ball. It's showing that you can play ball with other players and not just be the me factor in it all, you know. But let's talk some artwork. So I'm working on two different logos right now for a buddy of mine, for his companies, and he finally came to the realization that I was right in the first place with the design aspect that I was going with my first design that I had going for him. After seeing this secondary design that he kept, changing to his likeness, and I did it to his specs and what he wanted. And then once he saw it in finalization, he came to the realization that I was right in the beginning with the design layout that I had first. And it's kind of funny to see it come full circle, if you will. And some people just don't see it until they see it. You and I was right. And he realizes that now, and he's apologetic to it, and he's like, yeah, I want to go back to the original design. Just let's change it this way. And I'm like, okay, that's not a problem. That's not a big deal. Have it back the way it was in the beginning, and we'll go from there. But the good thing is, after I revamped my computer um, to run Windows 11, which is not supposed to run Windows 11, but there's ways around that. My program began to work. My old Adobe Illustrator CS4, which is the Master Suite Collection CS uh, Collection 4, it's awesome. I love having my program back. So now I don't have to go try to pirate some software somewhere or use the stupid cloud AI based stuff that they've got out there for Adobe Illustrator now, which turns people into instant artists. No, it does not. If you're having the right key prompts, you are not an artist. I'm sorry. A lot of people argue about the AI artwork and all that good stuff. I'm in a group that does not cater to AI artwork, but they find out real fast who is an AI artist, and they get booted because they're the ones defending the AI artwork out there. And like I said, there's applications for it for finding breast cancer or finding cancer in general, or those type things, which is a great detection service that they do offer. But when it comes to artwork, us natural artists that actually pick up a pen and pencil and paintbrush and all that good stuff, these little tools right here, and we throw our creativity on the paper, and we can't just erase a keystroke. You know, sometimes we fuck up and we don't. We have to start completely over, or we try to cover up that fuck up. In the artwork somehow, some way. You know, without having to redo the whole piece, and sometimes it's difficult. Sometimes we have to just scrap that piece and start all over. We don't have a choice. But now, if you are an AI artist, you're like, oh, well, I don't like that, so let's take out that keystroke and type in this keystroke and oh, hit enter and oh, looky there, it fixed it for me within 2 seconds. Yay! Now I can go sell this. Just like the banana taped to a wall, $2 million in sales or something like that for a banana on a wall. Uh-huh. That made a lot of artists mad as well in this day because let me tape my recorder to the wall. Let's call it art. But no, to each their own. I am not going to ever use AI generated stuff, as my little board over here says. It says all hand drawn original artwork at this booth. And I used to put that sign up at all my comic conventions that I had. And what I'm liking about a lot of comic book conventions, if they find out that you do have AI artwork, you get booted from the convention. No ifs, ands, or buts. No questions asked. You're gone, which I think is only right, only fitting, um, because everybody else has handcrafted stuff, and if you're going to type it into a computer and sell it, there's avenues for that, but it's not going to be at a comic book convention. It's just like when Todd McFarlane accepted the AI artwork of an artist, I don't even remember his name, for his Spawn, the next Spawn cover artist, and an AI artist beat out all the other artists. I don't know if they continued on with his contract or not, um, but it never should have went that far. He never should have made it into that round, knowing that he was an AI artist. You know, but again, to each their own. If Todd McFarlane wants to go that route, you know, that's him. I'm not the one making millions of dollars from action figures and comic books and movie deals and things like that. You know, so that's on Todd. For that avenue, and a lot of people lost respect for him. Whenever he did accept that artist as the number one guy to uh, do some cover work for him through the contest that he put out there. Did I think about entering the contest? Of course I did, because Spawn has been a cool character. Since it came out in 1992. Some of you weren't born then. I get that. And I've got Spawn comic books. I've got blank covers that I'm working on. I've done some blank covers for Gunslinger Spawn. Those type things. And all in all, Spawn is just a cool character. It's a cool concept. With that being said, the story lost value after issue 15 or 20, and the story was just after that. And they're up to what, 300 comics. So, you know, it just kind of went after that, after about 20 comics. And a lot of people feel the same way. There's other people that are like, no, this is still the greatest thing out there since sliced bread, and I'll keep buttering it and going. Well, you do that, boo boo. I, for one, do not have to. And number two, on that end, comics have become so expensive anymore. And and we were talking about it, as well as we were doing our workup of characters and stuff like that, trying to figure out, what it would cost to print and things of that nature. You missed a lot. That's why you should take your phone with you when you make sandwiches. You missed a lot. You've missed half the show already making some sandwiches. What did you make? 15 sandwiches for the show? And you didn't even bring me one. See, just thinking about yourself. That's what I was talking about. That's why Shadir Sanders is slid all the way down and probably not even going to get picked in this NFL draft. But anyway, um, the the fact of the matter is that comic books are expensive, and if anything were to ever happen to this collection over here to my right, that you can see in the pictures over here, up here on YouTube and Facebook, but down here on TikTok, you guys can't see that. Um, if anything was to happen to this collection over here, I probably would not buy another comic book. Case in fact, just because they are so expensive. Um, the days of your $1.50 comic books are gone. Now everybody's selling them for anywhere between $4 to $10 a comic book, you know, and that's pretty pricey, especially for one comic book. If you're spending $10 per comic book, you know, and that's where a lot of independents are going, is towards that higher priced comic book. And even Kickstarters, it's a little ridiculous on the prices that they want you to pay for like all the covers. And some people put out like 8 different covers to one book, you know. And you've got to think, if you're spending $5 a shot, for 8 books, do the math: 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. There's your $40 right there already. Plus, you got to put in the shipping, which they usually charge about $13 to $14 worth of shipping on that many comic books. And then they've got to look at the money for themselves. So you're already at 50, say $55. Just take the $15 price on the $40 price. So now you're at 55. Then they've got to put money in there for themselves, and they've already paid the artist, hopefully, for the work they've done. So now they've got to look at a profit margin for themselves on all of those. So then you're adding another $20 on top of that. So you were at 55, now you're at 75. Or do they add a little more for themselves? You know, because of Kickstarter taking out X amount. Because yes, Kickstarter at the end takes out an X amount of that profit margin for yourself, for your stuff. So, you could be sitting at over $100 just in getting that $40 worth of comic books, you know. And I see it happen all the time. So we were looking at seeing how we could keep the price low and all that good stuff. We talked, is it going to be a color comic book? Is it going to be a black and white comic book? And we can justify going either direction, you know. And it's just how we want to do it. Does this first issue that we're going to do we want it to be a black and white? Because it's going to be a introductory, uh an intro to the comic book, if you will, kind of like the ash can back in the day, and which everybody was printing at home, because it was basically just an 8.5 by 11, cut in half, printed out, and done. And the printers of today can handle that. And if you want to do it at home, you just save yourself a lot of money. Just have yourself a nice little long stapler that can reach in there and staple those together. The only money you would really be out is getting your cover front and inside, unless it was just a blank inside cover, um, to have a glossy sheen to it. That'd be really the only money you'd be out. And besides paper stock, of course. So that might be something I introduced to him as well, because I didn't even think about that until just now. Doing a possible ash can as a opening sequence to this whole thing, because your ash can tells your story that you've got and just presents it out there in a faster, easier way. So I'm listening. Make sure I'm not hearing any whining. Hold on just a second. No, no whining from the little guy. He was whining a little bit ago, but he probably went to lay down, so which is good. And I'll go check on him here in a little bit. It's our new little puppy, Mr. Dexter, the psycho killer. So, but with all that being said, there's a lot of aspects and avenues that we're going to explore with this, PDF wise and ash can wise. Now that I've thought about that, so I've got to write that down before I forget that. So give me just a second. Ash can. And that way, when we go to conventions and things like that as a group, we will be able to um, offer that up. Instead of, well, I've just got a PDF of this, so you can download it for $1. No, we can offer up that the $2 ash can or $3 ash can or whatever it would be, um, to get it kicked off, because that would be a cool idea. And well, I wouldn't be talking about ass for my work. Sorry, buddy. You need to open your ears and listen a little better, just like you need to open your eyes and see a little better. Either that or go to sleep. Here, let me spell it out for you, Mr. Roy Joe Bradley Jr. Twilight lover, Mr. Sparkly vampire lover. Disgusting. There you go. That's backwards for you. And I should have written it backwards right there. And maybe I still can. But right there. Ash can. Ash. So there you go. But now that we've got that out of the way, since some people want to make a mockery of our stuff out here, I'm kidding. But yes, it is all good, all fine and dandy. I think I moved about 15 more pallets yesterday. They were smaller than the other ones that I put up for the main area. And then I fixed one little section that I did not remove because it was just like, why remove it when it's already there? And all I've got to do is add in a couple boards. Yeah, it doesn't match the rest, but who cares? You know, I used all 22 back there to strengthen my fence and make it darn near predator impervious, because if they're going to get through that fence, they're going to be a fucking werewolf. Okay. Because this is an inch, a little over an inch, probably an inch and a quarter inch boards on both sides of this pallet. And then it's going to have the the chicken wire, and then it's going to have the ground in ground dig proof section, all the way around. So it's going to be a werewolf that's going to have to get through this fence. You know. Now, Mother Nature could come in and say, "Screw you, I've got other plans." But that's we have to cross that bridge when it happens. You know, and so, but I look forward to this fence being up a while. I've got several posts already set. I need more posts to go. So, if you feel generous, you can donate to my cause of my chicken coop. No, really, it's all about you know sponsorship. If you want to sponsor my endeavor of comic book creation and going to comic book conventions, if you're a millionaire out there, hit me up. We'll talk. And you don't have to be a millionaire either. If you are a company or a business out there and you truly want to sponsor, hit me up on my DM and we will talk because there's a lot of sponsorship opportunities for you, the business out there. Um, and all the sponsorship does is help pay for my booth rental, my travel, my hotel room, and things of that nature. So that all I'm basically worrying about is travel and food. So the travel wouldn't be included on your end unless you were that type of a generous business that wanted to put the travel in there as well. But food would be on my end. You know, all of my products would be on my end. But you as a business would be on my stuff. So, or like someone that's on your shirt, buddy. Yeah, Wolverine. Awesome. And if you did want to sponsor, let's talk. I mean, seriously, because I am open to sponsorships out there when it comes to getting back into comic book conventions next year. But like I said, your logo, and if you're an individual, your name, unless you didn't want your name to be out there, would be on my stuff, like my table cover that I'm going to get reprinted with my new logos and things like that on it. Any backdrop information would be your sponsorship would be there. On here, I would figure out some way to get your sponsorship up here with my logo. Just like up here on YouTube, I could up here on OBS, I can put your logo in anywhere. I can even have a running title going across the bottom, you know, that has your company as well as anybody else's company that was a sponsorship for this business here for 412 Productions. So, uh-huh. No, you're just seeing better because you rubbed mayonnaise in your eyeballs from your sandwiches. So, but seriously, if you do want to be a sponsor, hit me up in DMs. Um, yes, this is an awesome Wolverine Dallas Cowboy shirt to go with the Dallas Cowboy hat. I do think, I do feel like this was a one of those stupid flat brim hats, which I do not like and stand. So I curved it out because as I feel it, I can feel where I bent the cardboard in there. So yeah, one of them flat brimmed hats, that everybody was so crazy about when they came out. And no, I did not like that. So I curved it and turned it into the hat that it is today with the curvature. But yes, all that being said, we're looking forward to a good run on this. And then Sunday, so tomorrow, I'm going to be talking to another friend that I'm doing the logos for about working on a book with him as well that he's already gotten written. He said he's had written for a while. And he was wondering if I would be interested in doing that with him too. So opportunities are abounding right now. Not just in the voice acting gig, but in the physical realm of comic books and books. And I've also got the opportunity to be in a anthology book with professors and doctors, and which means doctorates, not doctors, as in medical field doctors. Um, about why comics are important. And and so that's kind of exciting that all these new opportunities are hitting right now. Sometimes when you feel at your lowest, whenever you don't feel like your stuff is relevant, but then all of a sudden, boom, here's these new opportunities, um, new builds, and new sky's the limit, if you will. Uh, and so it's like, wow, people do take notice. People do enjoy what you're putting out. And you forget that sometimes because you're not seeing, the fruits of your own labor out there as much as, say, if you were going to the comic book convention or something like that, whenever people are flocking your booth and buying up your prints, left and right. And so that it's a humbling experience, if you will, because your stuff will sell. You just got to get the right market and the right people to see it. That's why I put my paintings up on Marketplace. That's why I put my paintings in different comic book groups, like the Joker or Venom or things like that, so that it gets seen by thousands more people than it would if I was just taking it and putting it on my own Facebook wall or my Instagram page or my YouTube or TikTok, you know, and so you, not just me, you have the potential to, if you have a business, to be seen by thousands of people just by the avenues you approach with your work. So, like Mr. Roy Joe Twilight Bradley Jr. down here, he could put himself out there as a spokesperson for sandwiches. And he could tell you the type of sandwiches to make. But his are going to be like, some ham and bread with a little bit of that fake cheese, that plastic wrapped cheese stuff, from Kraft. The stuff that if you got in a pinch and you needed some heat, you could set it on fire and it burns like a candle. I'm introducing you to the world, Mr. Roy Joe Twilight Bradley Jr. That way people can come flock to you about how to make sandwiches. But you're not eating pizza. You're eating sandwiches. So we're talking about your sandwich endeavor. Your connoisseur of sandwiches with all your lettuces and tomatoes and onion and peppers and mushrooms all on the sandwich. So see, now he's running away from his sandwich endeavor and he wants to start making some good pizzas with a lot of meat, a lot of onion and black olives and peppers and jalapeno peppers and some habanero peppers. That'd be really good. And then a bunch of bell peppers on top of that as well. Um, throw in a little bit of, oh man, some good stuff. That is a good pizza right there. I'm glad you brought that up. Ah, but yes, life is exciting right now. Barbecue pork is where is that? Barbecue pork is good, but then throw in a bunch of other good stuff, good ingredients like some onion and some mushroom and some olives. That'd be make it even better. Mm-mm-mm. So, but no, life is getting good as far as artwork wise goes for me on this side. And I'm excited for it. I'm looking forward to it. Yes, it takes me off of my own project, like I've talked about before. Other projects that come in that actually pay the bills and things of that nature get to take precedence over things that don't, like my own comic book. Um, and that it does. I don't mind when that happens, just because I get to work on multitude of projects, and they're all different. My comic book is different than the comic book that I'm getting ready to work with Jason Pitts. That comic book is different than the book that I'm getting ready to work on with Mr. Larry. And then that book is different than the writing I'm going to be doing for, hopefully, this anthology book on why comics are important. And I've just got to come up with a catchy title, for my essay, if you will. And it's just all cool stuff. I mean, it's just all kinds of cool stuff just coming at you all at once in droves. And they're all different. That's the beauty of it all. It's all different. Um, because I've got the zombie western. I've got mine, which is mythological and cryptid entangled. I've got this book with Larry that is completely different than all of that. Um, and then the writing I'm going to be doing is going to be completely different than everything that's out there that I'm working on now. The logos are completely different than the comic stuff. The 3D prints that I'm trying to do, completely different than everything else. And so it's just like, one little thing after another, after another, after another. And it's just like, holy, when are you going to get the time to do your homesteading? When are you going to get the time to go out on a date? When are you going to get the time to, you know, first off, when are you going to get the money for all this stuff? That's the big kicker. So that's why I need, sponsorship. That's why I need is so that I can, you know, especially for next year, whenever those roll around, and I'm looking at, hitting 30 conventions next year. You know, that's an unrealistic goal, but it could happen, especially if we roll into doing ash cans with this comic book with Jason Pitts. Um, you know, is it going to be hit? Is it going to suck? Is it going to be this, that, or the other? And it's just like the sky's the limit right now, and I'm looking forward to that limit going up into out of outer space somewhere, going to Mars. You know, I'm not saying I'm going to Mars, but it's that's the limit I want to push myself. Is that there is no limit, and I enjoy it that way. Because why do you want to limit yourself? Why do you want to limit yourself just to a barbecue pork pizza? You know, why do you want to limit yourself to a plain bologna sandwich? Why do you want to limit yourself to just some regular popcorn when you can add seasoning? You know, and so the sky's the limit to anything you want to do or achieve. You just have to have that drive to do it. And if you don't have that drive to do it, well, I hope you enjoy punching a time clock for the rest of your life. I mean, I'm just being real. Now, if you've got a great paying job that's paying you like 25, $30 an hour, I can see why you would be punching that time clock, you know. But I gave up that a long time ago, 3 years ago. Doesn't seem like that long ago, but I can tell you every aspect of why I left that job and why I'm working for myself, you know. And It's much more rewarding. There's struggles, yes, 100%. And it's just one of those things that you adapt and overcome. Military minded. Yes, I was in the military, combat infantry, and yes, I did see combat. Thank you. And you adapt and overcome with your situations. You got to do what you got to do, self preservation and uh, family preservation and things of that nature. And so, when you struggle, you got to do things that you didn't want to do in the beginning. So, like get rid of comic books that you didn't want to get rid of, or get rid of statues that you didn't want to get rid of, or many different aspects. Whatever you've got to sell, you can sell it, and be happy that you did, that you had it to sell. So I unloaded a ton of old action figures that were sitting in my garage for forever, because we had a booth at Retro Market, and um, they would sell periodically. We would go in and replenish the stock, or I would take them to different shows that were like Collecticon at Sharp Gaming and things of that nature. But um, but after I stopped going to those, it's just like they just sat there, you know. So we took and sold them, because why do I want them taking up space? Is basically what it boiled down to. And so once I got rid of that, it was just like, okay, cool. That just opened up a whole lot of space right there. And it's just like, okay, what else do we got to sell? Now I'm looking at all these comic books that are to my right here, and I'm going to be selling off some of those. Not going to say I'm going to sell all of them off, but I am going to sell a majority of them off because there's just titles in there that I don't care about. The Superman titles, the Captain America titles, um, the Thor. You know, a lot of great story, a lot of great things like that, but you know, I'm just not interested in them. My Uncanny X Men is my main love, and anything that branches off of those. Now, any crossovers with the X Men, I will keep out of the group, um, because it could tie into some stories, from the early days, and so those I will be keeping. Um, but then, the rest of the run will be gone. And thank you. I so appreciate you doing this crap. The little puzzles that you have to do whenever you get to close to an hour show or more. Um, and so it's just like, there's just a lot of stuff that I'm not gonna touch over in this collection of over 7,000 comic books. And that doesn't seem like a lot to some people that have 10 or 20,000 comics. You know, I'm assuming that's how many I've got because each long box can hold up to 300 comics or a few more, because you can pack them in there pretty tight. Um, and I've got, what do we got? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 15, 16, 17. We got 17 long boxes just sitting right here of comic books, and you can do the math on that. Plus, we've got, I think I said I've got close to 30 boxes of comic books right here, and that includes the small boxes, which can hold up to 200 comics to 250 comics roughly. Um, the long box, well, it'd be less than that, it'd be half of that, so about 150 to 175 comics in a small box. But you're what? You're eating your sandwich and you're getting your keyboard sticky with all that mayonnaise that's dripping off. Is that what you're doing? But no, day 3 of the draft is today, sometime early this morning. Oh, you only came up with one? Well, you're completely wrong because hold up a box of comic books and show you that there's more than one in there. So must be that Arkansas math. But they the rest of the draft happens today. All the remaining rounds 4 through 7. So be on the lookout for that if you are into the draft and you are a ravenous draft fan like Mr. Roy Joe Twilight Bradley Jr. is here. He will have his pizza ready for the draft party the rest of the day. I think it kicks off pretty early today because there are so many rounds. But again, the Dallas Cowboys have no draft picks in the 4th round. So we will be twiddling our thumbs watching players get taken off the board unless, for some miraculous reason, we trade up one of our 7th round picks for a 4th round pick, which I do not see happening because we haven't traded up like they predicted we were going to this entire preseason or this draft so far. Just because everybody was like, and it does happen at noon. Okay, cool. Just like everybody was predicting that we were going to trade up in the 2nd round to get a wide receiver or a running back, but we did not. We did not move. And it's been a long, long time since we've actually traded draft picks out there. I think the last time we did a trade in the draft was like in the early 2000s. So 25 years ago, you know. And I can't remember the exact time because I know we've traded down in the draft to get some players that we wanted. But all the predictions that came through that were just saying that we were going to trade up in the 2nd round did not come true, did not pass fruit or muster. So I doubt we are going to trade up to get anything in the 4th round this year. And we'll look forward to the 5th, 6th, and 7th rounds where we have the rest of our picks. And that is 7 picks left. Unless there is some trades that happen, and then we'll end up with less picks than that because we will trade off 2 picks for 1. Is how it usually works. Unless we just trade picks with somebody, pick for pick in the 7th round just to move up a couple spots or, whatever. But I don't see that happening just because we have so many picks in the 7th that there's no reason to do it. And there's still a ton of talent in the top 100 prospects, that we can still pull from. So, but with that being said, I've got work to do. And it's been a joy and a pleasure to talk to each and every one of you out here. And I look forward to it the next time. The next time, which will be Monday, the 28th, will be Antarctic Press Day. We've got a new Antarctic Press drop to bring to you. Mr. Ben Dunn sent it to me on, not just to me, but to other people, sent it to me Friday. And I could have been talking about it today, but I figured today should be about, the new prospects and the draft. So, new opportunities is what it's called. So, with that being said, as I like to say as I leave you guys, and again, much appreciated. Please like, share, and follow. You can go up to my main page right here, not here, but up here, and go to my profile, hit my links up there, go to my website, and you can follow me on the rest of my socials, which is Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and you're here on TikTok. But as I like to say as I leave you guys, we will catch you on the flip side. Have a good day, everybody.